Before we jump into this week's episode of Major Pain, I will remind you that I am not a medical professional. Please do not take any medical action based off what you hear on this podcast without first consulting your doctor.
I didn't know there was a whole community behind being chronically ill.
It doesn't just become a story of disability, because that's really a universal story.
We got to be strong. We have no choice but to be strong.
Welcome to Major Pain. I'm your host, Jesse Mercury, and this week I'm so excited to be talking with our guest, Edward. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited. We've been emailing back and forth for a while. I'm so excited. We're finally here, getting to meet and getting to chat today. Before we get into your story, let's get to know you a little bit. Edward, why don't you tell us about yourself?
Okay. Hi, my name is Edward. There's not a whole lot about me. I'm 36 years old. I live in Cincinnati, Ohio. I have a 4-year-old son who is the love of my life. And aside from that, I'm a lifelong songwriter. Started when I was younger, but officially started when I was 16, and I've just been doing it a lot ever since then. I've been collecting recording gear, and so I'm a lifelong songwriter, and that's why I reached out to Jesse, because I put out an album, and I'm trying to it's a long story. We'll get into it, I'm sure, but I'm trying to basically promote my latest music. That's the basics of it. Yeah.
Well, you did send me your music, and it is, you're sort of wrapping up your story with, your health and your journey in your music, which I love and is something I've done a lot of as well. Although I generally sort of wrap it up in a science fiction story when I do the same. And I'm also a lifelong songwriter collecting recording gear. So we have a lot in common. I'm really excited to learn more about you and hear your story. What genre of music would you describe yourself as?
That's a good question. I almost don't know if there would be one genre. I experiment so much. So I'll go anywhere. I'll do folky stuff because I have a mandolin and a banjo, and they're just fun to play. So those make their way into my songs. But then also I'll make songs that are heavy-ish, kind of, sort of I don't know, grungy. So anyway, I just fluctuate. And then I play with electronic music. I do that a lot. And then just whatever, anything's on the table. I'm open to all of it. I love all music. So I might try all music eventually,
Cool. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And one of my jobs is that I work with a guitar pedal company. So I have to ask if you have a favorite guitar pedal.
My favorite guitar pedal in general?
Mm-hmm.
I'm big on delay pedals. I like those. A Boss delay pedal is always good for me.
Yeah, that was one of my first pedals, was a Boss delay pedal.
Of course it was. Yeah, that's a great starter.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah,
yes.
Totally. And we just put out a pedal. This is a prototype version. It's called the Splinter Twin, and it's like a time modulation. You can dial in delay with it amongst many other things. But that moment when you, on a Boss delay pedal, where you change the time knob and then the pitch changes and you're like, what's happening? That's what this whole pedal is built around.
I love
concept.
that.
Yeah.
I might have to get one of those for myself, in fact.
Yeah. It's very
cool.
fun. Yeah. If you look up Cosmodio Instruments, you'll see a lot of videos of me making some noise and talking about turning knobs and stuff.
That's all. Now, what I would be curious to do with that immediately is to try vocals through it.
Oh, yeah.
See what might happen with that.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. That would be super fun. I'm going to make a video about that. And we have you to thank. That's a great idea.
Okay. Yeah, totally do that. And I will watch it.
Fantastic. Okay, Edward, what is your major pain?
So my major pain is multiple sclerosis, or MS as it's often known as well. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, MS. We've had a couple people on the show talking about MS. I've learned a bit about it over the years. My college girlfriend had MS, and actually our first episode about MS years ago was with her. Do you know which specific variety of MS you have?
Oh yeah, I do. So I have relapse-remitting, RRMS, the most common form.
Yeah.
And the best form, which is a terrible way to put it, but it's the truth.
Yeah. And okay, for anyone who's not familiar, what is MS? How would you describe it?
So MS is a disease where what is it? Is it your immune system? I can't remember, but where your body attacks itself thinking that your central nervous system is a foreign invader. So then what it will do is attack your central nervous system by creating scars. And wherever the scars land is what disability you may end up with within your brain or your spinal cord. And it's a lottery. Everyone is different. They call it a snowflake disease because no one has the exact same presentation of the disease. It's crazy. Yeah. So that's essentially what it is, though.
Yeah. There's the myelin sheath that
Correct.
goes around the
nerve fibers.
The nerve fibers, yeah. And then you'll get these lesions in your brain or in your spinal cord. And just like that was a very good description, that lottery of, this scarring, and wherever it happens will dictate what the symptoms are. And then relapsing remitting. What is that? What does that mean?
How that works. So I'll tell you. So relapsing remitting, from what I understand, the definition is sort of fluctuating a bit, maybe, but I'll tell you. So essentially, though, relapse remitting is you'll get a symptom and then it will go away a bit, partially, all the way, maybe, but it could. But the main thing is you have a quick onset of a symptom. Whoa. And which is the case for me. For example, I woke up one day, went to sleep normal, woke up the next day, and I woke up, oh, my hand is numb and it feels really weird. What is going on? That was my first symptom. Well, actually, it was a different one retrospectively. But anyway, so that's what it was. I woke up, oh, here's a symptom. And then, but I can then tell you, so that's relapse remitting.
Yeah. And
it may go away. You do different things. It may at least calm down what you did. But then there is primary progressive MS, which is a slow onset. So it might be a few months and just, oh God, I'm starting to feel like crap. Just keep moving through the months. It's not getting any better. I don't feel good. And it's where you just progress naturally and get worse naturally with no onset. That's the best I understand it. That's how my doctor did a good job of explaining it to me. It's basically essentially the quick onset versus a slow onset.
Yeah. And then relapsing remitting, the remitting part is that quick onset, it, like you said, it might get better later. So it's not necessarily a linear progression. Whereas with the other version, I feel like, am I remembering correctly that doesn't happen as much, where like when a symptom occurs slowly, that slow onset, it doesn't tend to necessarily go away?
No, it does not. So with primary progressive, the symptoms have no chance of going away, and it's just a slow worsening. You can take medicine, and what the medicine does for primary progressive is just hopefully slows it down a bit. Now, though, with my form of MS, relapse remitting, it could go away. Maybe it will, but not necessarily. And there's something that's called PIRA or PIRA, or progression independent of relapse activity. And what that is despite a relapse, you could still just be getting worse. And that could mimic primary progressive, which has happened to me. So I've had a relapse or 2 or 3, but despite that, I've had progression outside of that, which is the PIRA I mentioned, which things just get worse. And and like I said, the disease it's the same disease across the board, but how it presents itself is kind of what divides the names,
Yeah, really interesting. And that almost sounds like there's sort of 2 different progressions happening at the same time in one body, which
absolutely
reminds me how important it is to keep in mind that like all of these words, these terminologies that we're using, none of it matters as much as like the individual person going through something, and like how are we describing that? That's what these terms are for in the first place, is to say like these are sort of patterns that we've seen in other people that you might experience. But with a disease like MS, it's that lottery element of like whatever part of your brain is being affected or your spinal cord is being affected, that's the symptoms you're going to have. And the way in which is affecting you, those are the symptoms you're going to have. We have these terms to try to describe, to try to give you a sense of expectation about, what the future may hold. But that's so difficult and complicated. And with any disease like this, where there's any form of progression, the word future is a scary one, right?
Oh God, yeah.
I mean, when I said that, I saw your eyes sort of like open. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's funny you bring that up though, because the future is both absolutely horrifying to me, and it is for sure, but it's also there's something I'm optimistic about with this condition because when you get on Reddit, which I do often, there's a very good subreddit for this disease where people with this disease get on and converse with each other. But there are currently medicines being developed called remyelination medicines.
Really?
Where since the disease is demyelinating, meaning that the myelin around your nerve fibers gets attacked and destroyed, they're working on making medicines that can replace that. So we talk about the future, and my eyes are dead set on, oh my God, let's see if that medicine will do what they're working on. And some are looking promising. So I will say, and in this community, people are very tuned in, like, oh, when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? And it looks like it might. And I asked my doctor, who is a fantastic neurologist. He works with people with MS only. He has his own clinic for MS only. Wonderful guy. Anyway, I asked him, how long till remyelination? And he said he follows things closely. And this was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, he said 5 to 7 years. So now we're at what, 3 to 5 years until those are available.
That's nuts.
Yes, it's crazy.
Wow, that changes so much to even.
Yes, I mean, it does.
Even just to have your eyes on that. I love that I have my eyes on remyelination. You know, it sounds like something Captain Picard would say. Even just to
it does.
even just to have that in your mind and be thinking about that, it just, you know, I mean, there's so much of this that like I relate to, thinking back to the point in my journey where I didn't know what disease I had. You know, the symptoms that I presented with are very similar to MS symptoms. And I was checked for MS over and over. And there's, you know, several people in my life that are very, very close to me, important to me, that have MS. And it's just a disease that's sort of like circled my life in an interesting way, although I don't have it, which we eventually determined when I finally got a diagnosis. But just that thinking of the future, like being in that moment where you're seeing progression, you know, I've been there and I couldn't think about the future at all. And I built this like brick wall. And it's something that, you know, my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, we would talk about this a lot of like, she's like, I need to be able to future trip a little bit. You know, I need to be able to talk about the future. Like, are we going to get married? Are we going to have kids? You know, can we talk about these things? And I was like, I can't think about it. I can't even engage in a conversation about that with you because I have absolutely no idea if I'm even going to be here. You know, like,
no doubt about that.
I am in the present moment, and that's the only way that I can survive this. And I just can't go there with you. So to have something like that, where it's like, this puts you in the future in a way that gives you hope and positivity, that's so powerful, you know, and
yes,
to have this community that has your back, the scientific community that's working on this thing, that's so powerful. And even like, no matter what comes, no matter what happens, the present moment now, if you're in the present moment and the present moment allows you to open your mind to the future, that is a gift.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yes. So I will say, okay, as far as the medicine that I currently take, what it is good for is putting relapses sort of away. Relapses kind of are a thing of the past, kind of. I mean, they still can happen, but when you take the right medicine, a high quality medicine, you're most likely not going to have relapses. So if you were to catch this disease immediately, you could likely have no disability and just keep going, trucking with your medicine. It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's already amazing. The medical, where we are, like the medicine I'm on was released in what, 2023? So only 2 years ago. It's amazing. So yeah, that's already in our favor, that relapses for my subset of MS are pretty much put on pause. So now that's why I'm very focused on fixing what's broken. And it looks like that could be possible. So I'm very hopeful and tuned in to following it.
Wow. What a place to be. Science. It's amazing. And
yeah, it is.
I have such a complicated relationship with medical science, but when it does it right, it's just such a miracle. It's so incredible.
Agreed.
And, like once I got a diagnosis and I got on medication, it's this cromolyn sodium, this liquid that I take is literally a magic potion that made my body work. And that's science, like that's just so incredible. But then also the medical field and like the scientific medical field, going in there without a diagnosis and with all these weird mystery symptoms, everyone just told me that it was all in my head and that I was making it up for so long.
Yes. Oh my God.
So that complicated relationship of just like, I adore you. I love you. You are a miracle and I despise you. And you've like tried so hard to break my own perception of myself. Both of those things live in me.
Absolutely right. Now I will relate to you again. So I mentioned earlier, when I woke up, my hand was numb. I didn't know what was going on.
And how old were you?
So I'll tell you, I was 32 and it was only 6 months after my son was born.
Wow.
Talk about a major mind fuck.
Yeah.
So yeah, big time. So I woke up and I'm like, man, I haven't been sleeping well. Being a new father is crazy. Maybe I don't know what's going on. I don't know. Maybe I slept on my hand wrong. But I also started having mental things where I was feeling depressed, having anxiety, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, it must be being a new dad, man. Okay. So I started going to the doctor and they read me, just a general practitioner, and they read me as, oh yeah, you have anxiety and depression and we're going to help you with this. There's medicine for that. Okay. Something else would happen and I'd be like, well, but why this? And be like, well, it could be an anxiety, but maybe not. A lot of back and forth, back, forth, back, forth. Oh my goodness gracious. Until finally, so I have lower back pain. Now, is that related to MS? I don't know. We're not sure. Could be, could not. But so I mentioned that to my doctor. Yeah, my back's killing me. Eventually ended up with an MRI in my back. So when the MRI is taken, it shows I have a
herniated disc?
Herniated disc. Absolutely. So I do have one in my lower back. And it was like, oh, maybe that's why your back hurts. And to help you, we're going to send you to a back specialist who we're going to offer you physical therapy. Okay, cool. So in the meantime, I'm preparing for that. But the whole process of going to this doctor back and forth, my walking's starting to get a little worse. And I'm like, oh, researching, Googling. Oh, but if you have a bad back in that area specifically, it could be touching parts of your spinal cord that could be making your walking affected. So I'm like, that's what it is. Oh, it must be what it is. So, right. So I go to this physical therapy and the physical therapist, I told him about my walking issues. He was looking at my MRI and he's like, wait a minute, walk for me. And I walked across the room and he was like, no, that's not just your back. Next day, millions of phone calls. You're getting 5 MRIs, blah, blah, blah. And so he knew, the physical therapist was just like, no, this guy's got MS, basically. He just knew, basically. And then before I knew it, I was seeing a neurologist and they're like, yeah, you have MS. It's not your back. It's not anxiety, blah, blah, blah. And that was crazy because I feel like I'm relating to something you said where I'm just like, going through so many possibilities, like, well, it could be this, could be that, could be this, could be that. And then it's like, once we found, go ahead.
You live through that thing where they kind of like blame you. It's like,
exactly.
Oh, it's all in your mind. It's your anxiety manifesting in your body.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's,
so I was feeling
hard.
crazy.
It sucks. It makes you question your own perception of your own body and your own reality. And here is a guy literally walking in the door with MS, and I've heard this from everyone who comes on this podcast. We all go through it, is that first phase of like, oh, you're just stressed out, buddy,
That's something that's very frustrating to me about medical something. I don't know the way doctors are trained or whatever. Something. So because my wife, for example, she's mentioned to me over the last 2 years, weird little things she feels. And the first one, I would have been like, that sucks. The second one, I'm like, okay. But by the 10th time, I'm like, those symptoms what are the odds? But they're so strangely related to MS.
Hmm.
What I'm going to ask you is to ask your doctor if you can get an MRI. But
Hmm.
then the doctor's like, oh, well, let's start first. What they like to do is start at the bottom and then work up to MS. And I'm like, yeah, but if you've got someone who has it, who is so tuned into it, and it sounds like it could be, why wouldn't you start at the top and then work your way down? Like, get an
Right.
MRI. Nope,
Right.
not MS. Okay, let's keep trucking.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because that also, if you don't do that, that leaves time, as happened to me, for things to get worse and to progress.
Right.
I don't know. That's a frustration I have with just the medical industry.
Yeah. And in this case, unless you do that MRI, you're never going to stop thinking about it.
Correct. Good
Yeah.
point.
So you might as well start there. You might
Yeah.
just for the sanity and well-being of you and your wife, we might as well just find out.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I may end up doing, we just researched it the other day, is you can get and pay for a private MRI. May as
Hmm.
well just do that. Start at the brain, take the picture, and then if it's not, then stop worrying about it. Keep moving on to the next thing, whatever it may be. You know.
Yeah. That's so frustrating that you even have to consider that.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. But peace of mind is so important. It's so important.
Yes. Absolutely. Especially
Okay.
with a maniac 4-year-old. So, do you have any kids?
Not yet. We're actually we want to have kids. We're
Okay.
working
Well,
on it.
I highly recommend it, and I'm going to tell you, it will change your life completely in the most beautiful way possible. So just
Amazing. I love that.
Throwing that out to you.
Yeah. I've always wanted to have kids, and now that my health is so much better, I still manage this thing and deal with it every single day. But now, and I will admit to some terror around my health downsliding if I have kids, because like you mentioned, the first few months of having a newborn and just getting up all the time, like when I don't get good sleep, I flare up really badly.
Likewise.
I'm still trying to balance my life right now. I have so much great stuff happening. I was stuck on the couch for all of my 30s, and now that I'm not, I'm just like trying to drink in everything and do everything, and
Absolutely.
and I can't. Like, I'm flaring up because I'm doing too much, and I'm trying to figure out, like, what can I let go of, and also let's have kids.
Oh man, I get it. Yes, but I have to just say, from my experience, you're gonna want to do that. If that's what you want to do, I say,
Yeah.
go for it.
Yeah, we're actually looking into adoption as well. So
Oh, beautiful. Whatever it may be, man.
Yeah.
Kids are, it's funny because when I was before we had kids, I was like, I'm never going to have kids, blah, 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 whatever. And then I just hit a certain point of maturity. Maybe my brain finally matured. And it was like, no, we should have kids. And like I said already, it's the most beautiful thing I've ever experienced as a human. So
yeah. And I want that. I want that for sure.
yeah.
Okay. You're 37. You mentioned numbness in your hand. You woke up with numbness in your
Yes.
hand, but you also mentioned that in retrospect, there may have been something happening before.
Yeah.
What was that?
So I will say 2 things I think back on. Number one, I started just complaining, man, I have anxiety. I'm getting anxiety, something I never mentioned before, but it started happening. And this would have been in my, early to mid 20s. I just complained about anxiety, and I would do all sorts of things, meditate, and basically try to meditate and relax and stretch and do all these things to get over the anxiety. Okay. So that was something that was affecting me. And then also, I remember looking back, there was a time when I was maybe 26 or so, where I was much heavier at one point in my life. I weighed 250. I now weigh 160. So I lost about 100 pounds.
Wow.
So because when I was about 250, one day I stood up and my feet felt very numb and tingly. And I was like, oh, what's going on, man? And I didn't know. It was freaking me out. So Google made me feel like I may have diabetes. And I'm like, oh no, man. Maybe I do. I'm a chubby dude. I eat a lot of sugar. Maybe I do. So what do? Instead of going to the doctor, I'm like, no, what I'm going to do is change my diet completely, which I did, and lost 100 pounds, which is nice. I'm glad that happened. And then the tingling feet went away, and I'm like, oh, I must have taken care of it. Wrong. Retrospectively, first relapse, my feet went tingly, and then it went away. That's classic RRMS. But had I known at that time, I could have gotten on medicine and would have never gotten further disabled, but I did not know. So yeah,
interesting. And you cannot blame yourself for that. I mean,
no, yeah. How could you know? You know?
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
bizarre.
Someday we'll be able to MRI ourselves with our cell phones. You know,
my God, you're so right about that.
There's going to be an app, and you're just going to be like, boop, boop, boop. Yep, I have MS. Talk about Dr. Google. You know, it's gonna get more intense as we move forward into the future.
Absolutely.
I'm also so interested in your onset of anxiety, because I am a very firm believer that these processes that happen, these chronic illness processes that are happening in our bodies, that a lot of anxiety and depression are coming out of it as like a sort of, you know, either a warning signal from your body to itself, or as just a misfiring of a process that's happening. You know, like for me with mast cell activation syndrome, MCAS, you know, all these chemicals flooding my body, it's so anxiety inducing. You know, it's like, yes, that makes me anxious, but it's not that I'm having anxiety. It's that I'm having a physical process that my body's freaking out about and is now anxious. So yes, I'm anxious, but the causality of that, you know, like what caused what, the chicken and egg of it, is something that like no doctor will listen to. You know, it's
absolutely right.
Infuriating. It's just like, oh, you have anxiety and it's giving you physical symptoms. It's like, no, I'm having physical symptoms and it's giving me anxiety. So
exactly.
So I find that I can't, you know, before I got a diagnosis, I completely stopped talking about the mental health aspect. I just buttoned that up, and I'm just like, you know, I'm a real chill, calm guy, and I'm going through these things, and I'm trying to, you know, and I feel like I'm doing a good job of staying relatively chill about it, but I would like to pursue it and try to figure out what's going on. And that's as far as I'd go. And doctors would listen to me more. And it's stupid that that's true. And I
totally agree with you.
I even hesitate to even talk about that publicly, because I don't think that's a good idea, but it worked. You know, that's what I had to do. Like, yes. I mean, tending to mental health is so important. Actually, here's the advice that I prefer to give, which is like, be in therapy the whole time and talk to your doctor and say, hey, you know, obviously there's like an element of anxiety that goes with not knowing what's happening with my body, but I'm in therapy, we're processing through it, and I feel like I have that managed and, you know, as well as possible. And with you, I would really like to pursue these physical symptoms and try to figure out what's happening there. Yeah, that sentence I would use a lot, and I feel like that really helped. Like being in therapy.
That's a great sentence. I love it, and I encourage anybody else going through a similar situation to use that sentence. That's excellent.
Yeah,
I love that.
You can take it. You don't need to credit me or nothing. Everyone, it's all yours.
I've already gotten past that, but anyone else who needs it, use it. You need it.
Please use it.
Please, advocate hard for yourself.
Yeah,
please.
Totally. But the doctors, you know, when I'd go in and say like, when I'm anxious in the doctor's office and I talk about the anxiety of like this wave of anxiety will hit me. And like, you know, my body, I'll start muscle spasms and like I can't walk. And they're just like, yeah, it's because you have anxiety. And that's it. They will not hear anything else. And, you know, roundabout way of just re-expressing the anger over that I will never be able to let go of entirely.
Oh, I completely relate to you on that. It is very, very frustrating.
Yeah. And it sounds like you went through something similar, like these waves of anxiety. I would imagine that maybe that has something to do with like the demyelination process or a lesion forming.
Yeah, it does. So I'll tell you, anxiety, what is clinically recognized as anxiety, is a symptom of MS across the board, very much so. Looking back on things, that was one of my first symptoms. I didn't know. I thought I was just having, that's what sucks about MS, is it can cause so many different symptoms that could be something else, but also can be MS. I think it's been called the great imitator.
Right.
So so it could be just a host of things. And if it's the one thing, well, then it's probably the thing it's affecting. Like if I'm having anxiety, well, you're probably just having anxiety, but no. What anxiety for me is, have you ever heard the term prodrome?
Yeah. Isn't that like, something about like a pre-migraine something?
So I don't have the definition super memorized, but the way I understand it, I believe, and I don't know if it's only with neurological conditions. Maybe is your condition neurological?
It's technically an allergic condition, but I was
allergic.
going to
Okay.
neurologists because there are neurological symptoms.
Uh-huh.
So that's why we couldn't figure it out, because I was in the wrong office. But
Right,
yeah, so
okay.
I've been to a ton of neurologists, and there's a lot neurological that happens, but it's
Mhm.
like an allergic white blood cell thing that's going on.
Okay. Well, though, okay, so I don't know if prodrome applies only to neurological conditions. I'm just not sure. But what it is what your body will do to kind of, it's so creepy the way it was put to me, kind of just reaches out and just like touches you. Like, we're coming. Kind of creepy, but that's what it is. So it's like a way to warn you, not warn you, but a way that it's just like getting in touch with you, like something big's coming. And just kind of like, yeah. And so mine was obviously the anxiety thing.
Yeah.
Because now that I have MS and I'm in it and understood and all this stuff, I don't feel anxiety anymore. That thing that was haunting me for years, just don't have it anymore. It's so bizarre. So the prodrome is over, meaning like the preamble to what's on its way.
Yeah.
Is over. It's so bizarre to me.
Yeah, that's so interesting. So okay, you went through this period 6 months after your kid is born. You go to a bunch of doctors. This physical therapist sees your MS, and then you finally get that diagnosis. Tell me about your MRI. Like, what did we see on the MRI? Lesions, and then what do you feel when you get that diagnosis?
Okay, so first I'll say I got the MRI of my back first, lower back, because I had a herniated disc. Okay, so I saw that. We were looking at that at the back specialist clinic I was at. And as we're going through, they're going down the MRI and pointing out, like, here's your herniated disc. But then also, there was like a white spot that I was looking like, what the hell is that? But they just said, well, that's probably inflammation. And I'm like, okay, probably. Looking back again, retrospectively, that was a lesion on my lower back.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I was not expecting MS at all. I didn't really even understand. I knew some people with MS, but I had never done research on it. Okay, though. Then eventually I get brain MRI and cervical spine and blah, blah, blah. And you say, what does it look like? Is that what you said? Is that what you're curious about?
What does it look like, as in, like, you know, how many lesions? Where are they?
Oh, God. Horrific. Many. So depending on the angle.
And everywhere.
Depending on the angle you look at it from, I have a classic presentation where if you look at it from this perspective, so you're looking at the side of my head, there's something that's called Dawson's fingers. And it doesn't look like fingers, but kind of on the MRI, just like the lesions spread out sort of like this. And that's just sort of how it looks. So I certainly have that presentation. But then you turn the angle and then you look just different spots on my head, and it's sort of everywhere.
Yeah. Do you remember the amount?
I don't think I ever got a count because it's a lot.
Okay, yeah. So just your brain is lit up like a Christmas tree.
Exactly right.
And you have one on your spine as well, at least one on your spine as well.
So I have one on my lower spine, and then I certainly have some in my cervical spine, which is in the neck. And then as far as between those, I don't know exactly, really.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And then what is the feeling when you see this? And when they show you this MRI, I'm assuming they're telling you, like, these are lesions, you have MS.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, at that point, because at that point, essentially I'd been diagnosed, and it's like, let's look at your MRIs. And then, so then it's just like, I don't know. It's helpful to see that, so you can just understand what's going on, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how helpful it is or not.
Yeah.
I don't know that I loved seeing it, honestly.
Yeah, that's
kind of
an
scary.
Interesting point. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a disc in my kitchen on the refrigerator, I think, of my last MRI. It's a disc that has the files of the MRI on it, and I haven't even had the courage to put it in my computer and look at it, although I'm going to, for the next album I put out, it'll probably make its way into the art of some way, in
Cool.
some way.
Love that.
But yeah, seeing the image of your scarring or your sclerosis or the spots on your central nervous system it's scary, man. It really is.
I can only imagine. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And when they tell you have MS, do you remember what your reaction was, what the feeling was?
Well, so yeah, like I mentioned, I went to the physical therapist and I was walking and he's like, that's not just your back. So then then I got a message from some nurse who was like, actually, the MRI that we had you get shows evidence of demyelination, but that could be several things. So now we're going to send you to a neurologist. But okay, so demyelination, they tell me that. That's where I was like, oh shit, what does that even mean? I'd never heard that term before. I had no idea.
Yeah.
So then you start, of course, Googling, and I'm like, oh, dude, I have multiple sclerosis. Oh my goodness. I would have never, ever guessed it.
You got that from Google.
The initial.
Yeah.
I got demyelination from a nurse.
Okay.
But multiple sclerosis first was I saw from Google. Yeah.
So that moment of recognition was not in the doctor's office.
No, it was not.
That's so interesting. Speaking of Dr. Google.
Yeah.
Man. And then is it just like getting the wind knocked out of you?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So this happened when my son was like 6 months. He's 4 now. So 3.5 years ago, let's just say. So it happened 3.5 years ago, and the wind was knocked out of me for it still kind of is, but for 2.5 solid years, I was beside myself with grief and horror and shock, just so scared. What I will say is, in the last year or so, I've sort of accepted it and sort of learned how to adapt to it a bit. But man, it takes a long time to do that. It did me, at least. Some people may just be like, I'm fine,
Yeah.
But not I.
Well, anyone who says I'm fine has just not processed it yet, I think. But
I would agree with you.
I mean, and this moment, this transition from, my life is over to, oh, I have a life and I can learn and adapt and live with this. That moment is critical, and it's beautiful and wonderful. And sort of like the entire point of this podcast is that
beautiful.
Like, everyone goes through this, and every voice you've ever heard on this show. I mean, I generally only interview people with chronic illness and disability. Every once in a while, someone else will sneak their way in there. But in general, that's the entire purpose of this show, is that we've all gone through this, and here we all are on the other side. And something happens in that moment of acceptance that changes you forever. And I think makes you better. Is that a weird thing to say?
No, it's not. It's honestly a beautiful perspective. And I hope that anyone with a chronic illness goes through that, where they finally have that moment of like, okay, I've got this, but I'm just going to keep moving.
Yeah.
And then, maybe it does make you better. Maybe it changes things about you that were, oh man, that were wrong forever. But now that things get corrected, like, oh, that's why I see now. Oh, I can do better there. I can do better here. Yeah.
I mean, I can only speak for myself. It made me better. It allowed me to, I just remember these moments of like being in a wheelchair and going for a role and being outside and feeling the sun on my face and understanding why life was beautiful for the first time, and having like never had that, and walking through life with impatience and dissatisfaction. And then it's like something about this really intense challenge that makes you feel that you will never feel joy again. And then when you do, you realize that everything you thought was wrong. And it's beautiful and it's wonderful.
Absolutely right. That's a beautiful perspective that you just gave me. And I love that. And I'm going to, try to apply that to myself. It's so cool. Where I will relate to you on that is how I relate to that right now is, okay, so music, long-term musician, I've said it all. I have been a very active songwriter and musician my entire life since I was a teenager. When I was a teenager, when I was like 15, my band was very, very popular. We would sell out shows every other week. We were insane, playing at bars at 15, crazy, very popular. Anyway, so the time goes on. When I was in my early 20s, I was in another band, and we got the talk of maybe getting a major label record deal. Whoa, it might happen. So we start going on tour. This possibly might happen. Okay. But then it didn't. Things fell apart. Part of that, I will admit, for any of my family who's watching, and they're like, "You did some of it." Okay, I'll admit, the thought of having a major label record deal at that age, especially, scared me. I don't know why. Just freaked me out. Like, whoa, that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, a second time in my life, only a year or two later, a song of mine in a band I was in went viral online. Pretty viral, not super viral, but it did. And then I again got scared. Like, why? I don't know. Can't explain it. I just did. And I pulled back again, second time. Okay. So though, now at this point in my life, I'm like, no, I'm never going to stop writing music. And I'm making a genuine effort to do something with my music. Okay. And I'm not allowed to get scared this time because, and this is how I'm framing it, because what is scarier than being diagnosed with a disease like multiple sclerosis? Really not much. So why would I be scared of something else if this is also what I'm facing?
Yeah.
You know, so
wow.
So if you have to face something that scary, don't let anything else scare you. Just deal with the big one, and then everything else should not hit you as hard. I mean, that's the perspective I'm trying to have. Yeah.
I love it. It's amazing. It's so good because it's like this lifelong journey to learn how to accept your own success and to be comfortable in your own power and with your own voice as a songwriter. And there's nothing more vulnerable than being a songwriter and putting a song out there. And I am one as well. And I get it. I have put out music that just like I poured my soul into, and then I put it out and nobody cares. And it just feels like someone ripped your heart out and stomped on it, you know?
No doubt about that.
Yeah. It's just so hard. And then there's also something that happens where you put something out into the world and it takes off and you lose control, and it's scary. So it's like both sides of the coin are fraught with difficulty. And
absolutely,
as a creator, it can become like, you know, completely destabilizing, where you just don't know what to do with yourself.
Absolutely.
And you still have this need to write music and to put the music out. So what are you going to do? You got to find a way to make it healthy. And if having MS is the only way to finally get all of these pieces in your brain into place to make that healthy, and that's what allows you to springboard off and finally be okay with what you love, that's beautiful. That's wonderful.
Yeah, I agree with you. Isn't that such a strange poetry to life?
Yeah.
Like, it took getting this disease to finally give you the courage to push for it. Okay.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. It's real weird.
Yeah. Amazing. And I relate to a lot of this too. I mean, as a musician with a chronic illness, you know, I was playing in bands and I completely stopped when my health flared up. And I was just thinking about this the other day. It's like, I am probably well enough now to play in a band again, but there's just like the difference between not playing in a band and being on stage with the band. That is a massive gulf, you know, like finding the people, learning the songs, getting it up, getting a gig. It's so hard. And when you're a teenager, there's something about the momentum of the universe that allows you to do it. But when you're 41 years old with a full-time job and a second job and a podcast and wanting to have kids, and I got to play Warframe too. I got to have time to play Warframe. There's just a lot on my plate, if you know what I mean. But I do remember a question that I wanted to ask you. So 3.5 years now on this journey, relapsing, remitting MS. You've talked about the tingling in your hand, the tingling in your feet, the numbness in your hand. What else? Like, how else is this manifested in your body?
Okay, so I will tell you. So, along with the tingling, the first like super noticeable thing, I also had a strange band of tingling in my stomach, which was odd. Also, my feet felt tingly again. So now those are things that sometimes I feel, sometimes I don't, and that's just forever. And then, as I mentioned, the PIRA, progression independent of relapse activity, through this whole time, also my walking just started getting a little more funky, and I'm like, oh, wonder why can't wrap my mind around it. So then also, so those are two of my main symptoms. The hand thing, which is basically so minimal, I don't care. I would almost not even mention it. The walking is very noticeable and it sucks, and I walk with a cane, which is ridiculous. But then, so the other thing is, and okay, you think having issues walking would be terrible? It is. But you know what's worse is this other issue, bladder issues. Oh my God, they're terrible. So what started happening also in the beginning was I'd wake up and be like, oh my God, I peed the bed, but I'm 32. I've never done that. Why is that happening?
Yeah.
But I had. And then the first time I did it, I was just like, okay, big accident, I guess. But then it started happening very often, and I'm like, what's happening? Again, I mentioned this to the doctor. He's like, it could be your anxiety. And I'm like,
I had a real anxious dream. And
yeah, exactly right. Like I'm peeing the bed because of anxiety. I think so. This doctor's probably sitting back like, this dude's a nutcase. He's losing his mind. He's peeing the bed, freaking out, and but that's not what it was, because MS does affect your bladder massively. So yeah, so those three symptoms, the bladder, I take medicine for it now, and it helps big time. The walking and the hand numbness, like I said, which is almost forgettable. So just the walking and the bladder issues are woo.
Yeah.
But I'm also very grateful that it's nothing worse. I'm not too worried about it being much worse, because the medicines are so good. They keep relapses at bay for the most part, because other symptoms it could cause could be horrifying. I mean, one I always say is I could be blind. I could be. I'm not, but I could be. And that's a symptom that's super possible from MS. And thank God that hasn't happened to me. I could also lose function on my hands, which God forbid that, because I'm a lifelong guitar player, and that would horrify me. But most likely that's not going to happen. So it's like, okay, all right, I'll deal with what I got and figure all that out,
Yeah. Which medicine are you currently on?
So I am on a medicine called Briumvi, Briumvi. It is an infusion that I get every 6 months. And yeah, it's so I would say the most popular MS medication is called Ocrevus. And Briumvi is essentially the generic version of Ocrevus.
Okay.
But yeah, they function the same way, and they keep relapses. I think I have a 90%, I think that's the number, maybe 95% chance of never having a relapse again.
Whoa, what?
Yeah, it's like that.
And you said this med just came out a couple years ago.
I'm pretty sure 2023 is when it was released.
Wow.
If not, maybe a couple years before that. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, in my lifetime, the advances in MS medication, I think, are the most striking of any of the diseases that I can think of off the top of my head.
I would agree with.
Yeah, that's a very important statistic. What can I think of off the top of my head?
Ever since being diagnosed, if you can believe it, I've read a lot about this disease. I feel like I could almost diagnose someone. I couldn't, but I feel like I almost could. Anyway, yeah. And so just all the things I've read, like how bad it was even 20 years ago versus now. Now we're in a new world of this disease where if you catch it early enough, you won't really get disabled. And it's kind of like, whoa, wow, that's amazing. Unfortunately for me, I wasn't one of those, but that's okay.
Yeah. And of course, it depends on the person and the presentation. And
absolutely. And they call it a snowflake disease because everyone is literally different. Because I mean, the way I think about it is, imagine how could you put it? Imagine you laid out a diagram of your central nervous system, your brain and your spine, put it on a board, then take some darts and
Yeah.
just throw them at that. Wherever they land on that picture, that might be where you have a disability. Oh, what's that part control? Oh, it controls your bladder. Now you have that.
Yeah.
But if it didn't hit the bladder part, you don't have that.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy to me. So that's how it can be the snowflake disease. And
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah. And of course, you've talked about your wife and your son, and it cannot be understated how important it is to consider the impacts that our chronic illnesses and our disabilities have on the loved ones around us, and
absolutely
caretaking and support and the feelings of guilt and shame and this is my fault, and all of it is just so complicated. So tell me about you and your relationship with your family and how this disease is fitting into that bubble.
Oh God. Okay. So let's see. So between my wife and I, she and I have known each other since we were 13 or something. I'm now 36. Okay. We've been together for a long time, since our early 20s to 36. Okay. So anyway, how has it affected our relationship? I'll just be so honest. I think from when I was first diagnosed, I was so just horrified that it distracted me. And being so distracted with a 6-month-old son, simply maybe I wasn't the best. I'm just gonna be honest. I was tuned in to myself, couldn't focus on anything else. So yeah, that unfortunately just caused a lot of grief and stress between us. And what sucks is he's so young. So I didn't get diagnosed when he was 6 months. I didn't get diagnosed till he was like 2. So from 6 months to 2 years old, a year and a half, I'm going back and forth to the doctor and, oh my God, this, that. So it took me 2 years to even get diagnosed. So during that 2 years, I missed a lot of his growing up because I'm so distracted on my phone all the time reading about, oh, what could that be? What could it be? Well, just too distracted. So yeah, that's one thing that I like. As much as it has taken from me physically, which it has a bit, taking life experiences from me is worse, honestly, and affecting relationships and yeah.
Yeah. And it sounds like maybe that's shifted since then.
Yeah, it has. Like I said, well, it has. I became much more. Well, I was notified of like, hey, wait a minute, like, come back, basically, come back, please. And I'm like, okay, I can. And also, like I said, I have sort of reached the moment of acceptance just in my life with this disease. So once I accepted it, it's like, oh God, okay, I can focus again. I can focus on what's important. So I'm again doing that now and blah, blah, blah. And, I'm able to be much more engaged now than I was for the first 2-3 years. Yeah, now, like I said, well, I was just telling my wife, okay. So we were driving, getting a coffee just before I sat down to talk to you. Okay. And I told her, here's a subtle thing about MS that I never knew until just last night. Last night, I sat at my computer working on a song and for 2 hours. And I did not sit there thinking about having MS at all. No, I was zoned into my music and mixing a song. Okay. But then when I was done doing that, turned things off, I stood up to get ready to lay down and I was like, oh, I was reminded, oh God, I have MS. My walking sucks. My muscles are terrible. I don't walk very well. I didn't have that thought, but I just stood up like, oh, painful. That sucks. But I'm like, that's a interesting thing to forget about it. It's kind of like a beautiful thing in a way that you can have moments where it just doesn't exist for you until you have to stand up and, walk.
Yeah. Well, and it's like once that moment of acceptance happens, you're going to spend years integrating that. And it's not like a on and off switch. It's like an awakening. It's like planting a seed that can then start to grow. That acceptance is organic and needs time to grow. It's like a vine that can like kind of grow throughout your entire body, but it's going to take time. But planting it, that moment of planting it is so critical and important. And you've crossed that threshold, which is really amazing. And okay, I mean, before we wrap up today, I got to hear about your music, because your initial email to me, you talked to me about what you're trying to do with your music and how you're sort of trying to process this diagnosis through your music.
Absolutely. Okay. So like I said, I started that when I was 16, 15, 16. I don't know. I started writing and recording music. And ever since then, I have written and recorded music a lot. I have over 100 songs released on the cloud or whatever, Spotify, everything that hosts music.
Wow.
A lot of music out. Okay. So though, I'm trying to, like I said, put my neck out there again and see if I can't have some actual real success with my music. Let's just see if I can. Okay. But so when I was diagnosed, was right around when my son was learning how to talk. And when he was learning the word broken, he would instead say, brokest? And I thought, I'm brokest, dude. So I took that word, wrote a song. The song is called Brokest.
Brokest? I am brokest. It feels like I'm under a spell. Hocus pocus. I'm not getting round so well. Can you help me? I sometimes have to lean on walls. And if I don't, there may be falls. When I take my medicine, I may walk upright again, brokest.
The song is very forwardly about having MS. It talks about the fact that I don't walk so well and blah, 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 blah. It's not, it's just basically a straight up, here's what's going on with me. Okay. So then, I've taken that song, not that I want to use the fact that I have MS for anything, but that when I write songs, each song is essentially a journal entry. And a lot of times the lyrics are not good. Whoever it may be about or whatever it may be about. If it's about someone, they're probably like, you suck. Don't write songs about me. Okay. But this journal entry, Brokest, just happened to be, and I like the song. It turned out well. And people seem to respond to it when I released it. And I'm like, maybe there's something there that I can use to my benefit. So what have I been doing since? Oh, by the way, the music's called Green Plastic Whistle. Why? There's no reason. I was 15 or 16. I don't know, man. So anyway, it means nothing to me. But anyway, though, what I've been doing. So I do not walk so well. I haven't played live ever since COVID destroyed the live music scene. Before that, we were playing a lot, but I haven't since. Okay. But I want to. So what have I been doing? But going out and playing open mic nights. I'm trying to, flex some muscles, get out there. Like, let's see what it feels like. So I'm walking into these venues with a cane, hobbling and getting up and playing. And I'm trying to explore what the live experience can be. It must be so interesting in my perspective, for people to see me hobble in with a cane and my guitar somehow looking all funky, then sit down and play a song or two. And it must be something. I would be, if it were me, I would be like, what an interesting experience. I don't know.
Yeah. Wow. That's so cool. And if people want to check it out, they can find Green Plastic Whistle, it sounds like, on Spotify and all the streamers.
Yes. And I would also say follow my Instagram, because it's essentially my website if you want to keep up with things.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I have to ask you my favorite last question. So if you could Go back to this moment. Your son has just been born, and you're having some symptoms, but you have not yet been diagnosed with MS. If we could hop you in a time machine and you can go back and bring a message to yourself in that moment in your life, what would it be?
Well, I would say go to the doctor and now here's what I would really say, because I knew I could tell my walking was starting to get a bit worse, but I was scared. I didn't want to mention that. What I would say is it's not the worst thing it could be. So just get the answer, man. Stop hiding from your fear of it. Basically that. Face your fears and just confront it as soon as you can. That's what I would tell my past self. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, it's so interesting what our fears are telling us of what is real versus what is real and what needs to be done. They're often so misaligned.
Absolutely right.
Yeah. Edward, this has been just such a fun conversation today.
Agreed.
Some really amazing thoughts and ideas have been in there to really collate and think about. It's really going to stick with me. And, I just love doing this so much. And this is a perfect example of why. It's just fun. Just such a blast.
You do a great job. And I also say, if you ever want to collaborate musically, let me know.
Amazing. Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah. Well, Edward, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It sounds like if people want to follow you, Instagram is the place to do it. We just talked through all the things. Anything else you want to plug or share?
No, I'll have another 20-song album out in a few months, I'm probably sure. So
Wow.
Yeah.
You are prolific. I'm so slow with my mixing and mastering.
I write too much.
Yeah, amazing. Well, Edward, thank you so much. Green Plastic Whistle. Everyone go check it out. I really, really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your story with us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Major Pain. I'm Jesse Mercury, your host and the creator of this podcast. Artwork by Egg Salad Salad. Podcast production provided by Mary Chan of Organized Sound Productions, with editing and post-production from Katie Pagich and show notes writing from Shannon Kirk. Our theme music is the song Time Machine from my synth-pop album Sci-Fi, now streaming everywhere. Join our community on social media. We're on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, all at Major Pain Podcast. Our email address is majorpainpodcast@gmail.com. Learn more about this podcast and browse our collection of episodes at majorpainpodcast.com.